Okay, everyone, welcome. This is Jungian Coaching,
There are three-part series.
4 parts:
4 parts.
relationships, success, wellness, and spirituality. And so I'm Deborah Burnt Maldonado.
I'm Dr. Robert Maldonado.
And we are the founders of Creative Mind, and we train coaches in a Jungian coaching model. And we also help people reach their goals through Jungian coaching. And we wanted to put this series together to share with you a little bit about the coaching process and
to explain ourselves.
And it's really for you if you are looking to be a coach, be trained in Jungian coaching, or if you're interested in getting Jungian coaching yourself and how it's different than any other personal development process you'll ever do. Very unique, the way we teach and the way someone approaches their own personal growth.
Not for the weak at heart.
Not for the weak at heart. And so we're really excited to share with you how really, truly, there's 4 human desires that we all have. And the 4 desires are a desire for a loving relationship and meaningful relationships in our life, not only romantic, but relationships in general, friendships and family, children and colleagues and professional relationships.
I think that piece also plays into our need to enjoy our life, to have fun and really enjoy the pleasure of being alive.
Mm-hmm. And then the second one is success. And, in the Upanishads, they talk about the 4 human desires, and that really we always think we want to be spiritual people, we want to evolve, and we want to transcend our human experience. But the human experience itself is so rich and powerful. And we want to we're here for these desires. We didn't get these desires by accident. So there's the desire, kama, is the desire for pleasure, which is what we're going to talk about today. Artha, which is success, wealth, purpose. There is dharma, which is your purpose, spirituality, and yoga, which is a desire for wellness, mind-body wellness. And so we're going to cover them over the next 4 days, and we'll be here every day at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, to share with you how Jungian coaching can help you attain success in all these areas. And hopefully you'll learn a little something about yourself. And we are really hoping that you will be inspired to get training as a Jungian coach. Our next class is starting September 15th. There's a button below, always on all these calls, that you'll be able to find out more about the program and apply and speak to me directly about joining the program. We do have a Q&A box. If you have a question, post it in the question, or you can post it in the chat here. If you're watching us simulcasting on Facebook, I encourage you to sign up for Crowdcast, RSVP, get into the Crowdcast app, where you can actually interact with us live and we can answer your questions. If you post your questions on Facebook, we won't be able to see them. We're only seeing the ones on Crowdcast.
And I always invite people to ask questions because you won't hurt our feelings if you disagree with our work. On the contrary, we want to hear kind of what makes sense to you and what doesn't make sense to you.
And so today we'll talk about relationships, but I wanted to start off by really answering the question, what is Jungian coaching? What is it? And I wanted to just share with you my journey and how Rob and I got to this point where we came up with this system. I was in the corporate world for many, many years. I was an internet marketer. I worked in the entertainment industry. I was the typical corporate girl, tied to my corporate salary, but I always felt this yearning and this desire to help others. And I was always the person at the office that people would come to when they have a problem. And I'd have my little self-help books and I'd be like, well, this is what, this person said, or Wayne Dyer says this. And I was always really intrigued about psychology and And when I got laid off from my corporate job, I ended up actually becoming a hypnotherapist originally. And I loved working with the mind and working with the subconscious and going deeper with people. And then I wrote a book called Let Love In. Back in 2010, it was published. Everyone told me, you're not going to be able to get a published book. You're not a psychologist. You don't have a degree in psychology.
I didn't tell you that.
You didn't tell me that.
Maybe I did.
Maybe no. A lot of people are saying you're a hypnotherapist. No one's going to read that book. No one's going to take you seriously. But I knew that there was something in me that I needed to share and I needed to get out there. And so nothing stopped me. And then I met Rob, and Rob, psychologist, and he was telling me a little bit. We talked a lot about the unconscious. That's how we were kind of met, thinking and speaking the same language about understanding deeper parts of the psyche. Remember?
Very much so. I remember.
You remember?
Vaguely.
And then he started telling me about more of the deeper aspects. I remember the first video you showed me was the anima animus. And this idea of this like deeper parts of our psyche that's masculine or feminine. And I was so intrigued. I said, can you teach something? Share a class with me. And we just started like playing. You were doing your other work. And eventually we kind of decided that we would work together and start our first certification. We came up with this, our unique process, and started that in 2012. So we've been doing it for 8 years now. And had a great experience. And I just feel like everyone should be able to do the work they love, have a great relationship, and be successful and be healthy and have all the things that we're going to talk about over the next 4 days. And I could tell you that Jungian coaching, the process that we teach, is something we use in our life every single day. And it really is rewarding. And our clients, say there's nothing out there like that.
Yeah, from my perspective, it was that we know so much about the mind now, including kind of the consciousness. People are really starting to do research on consciousness. And there is a rich tradition in Eastern philosophy also of what is the mind, what is consciousness, how do you work with those things. But often it's not practical for people, or it's hidden in the academic world, in the ivory towers of academia. Very few people have access to the real rich stuff. So when you introduced me to coaching, it was like, well, here's a model we can use to deliver the best of what we know about consciousness, Eastern philosophy, wisdom, spirituality, as well as what we know about depth psychology, so that people can use it in helping them solve the basic problems or desires, like you said, or pursuits that they have in life, in finding great relationships, creating good relationships that they're satisfied in, right? That they're able to express love and receive love. Where they're able to create successful, meaningful work for themselves, and not just feel like they're always stuck in their jobs or that they hate their jobs. That's not what we're here for. As human beings, we're here to express creativity, to enjoy life. And
enjoy each other and have intimate, close relationships, emotionally available relationships.
While caring for our bodies, our mind body, and making sure our mind body is healthy, but also getting in touch with our spirituality. In the wisdom traditions, it says the aim of human life is to realize that you are the divine. In essence, we become human to experience our spirituality.
And the pursuits that we have for love and work are ways to understand who we are, versus I want to understand who I am so I can get the love I want or get the success I want. We actually use these desires to understand ourselves in a deeper way and get deeper in touch with who we really are. So it's kind of like reversed. Instead of the law of attraction, I'm going to be spiritual so I can get things out there. I'm going to try to get things out there so I can be more spiritual, so it's like reverse in a way, like you're using your attachment and your desires for love and what's in the way of you having a full, incredible love and success, to discover who you really are. And that's really great. So we start off on our journey really just having these basic desires, and we understand ourselves, and then we can really truly be satisfied. Because if we leave the spiritual growth out of it, we end up just chasing relationships or chasing success, and it doesn't have meaning to it. It doesn't have any meaning. So what I love about Jungian psychology is that, those of you who don't know who Carl Jung was, he was a colleague of Freud. He did not work for Freud. He wasn't a student of Freud. He was a colleague. And they kind of they came together for a little bit because of the dream work and understanding the unconscious. But then they had a little split, a big split actually. And their disagreement was, Freud was more of an atheist, and he didn't believe that there was a spiritual aspect to the human psyche. And Jung actually was investigating like these psychic phenomenons and astrology, and Freud thought it was fruitless, but he's like, well, the human mind is created all this, so we have to understand it. And so he was really the first true spiritual psychologist. And he really integrated the science and academic understanding of psychology with this esoteric, this spiritual aspect of who we are. So that's Jungian coaching, is basically taking all his knowledge and apply it for high functioning people who don't need therapy. They just need to understand their psyche and their mind and their deeper selves so they can have a better life, So it's about moving to your potential. So we don't see people as broken or wounded, or damaged in any way, that everyone, no matter what happened to you in the past, can be truly live any desire you have in your life.
Yeah. I think our contribution to the coaching industry, as well as psychology and spirituality, I think it's let's say the balance between the wisdom traditions, which really teach us incredible things about consciousness, what it means to be human, but often they're not practical, especially in today's world. There's not a lot we can do to apply them wholeheartely without kind of betraying the true spirit of what they're talking about. Balancing that with a personal transformation psychology, the way Jung outlined it, that there is this inherent kind of instinct in us to individuate, to become our true selves, not just the persona.
That's a really good point. A lot of people, they mistake this desire, this hunger for life, and they think, well, it must be because I'm single and I need to meet someone, or I must make more money. But actually what we're really experiencing is this deeper desire to be more in our life. And it's not coming from the ego, will make it seem like it's out there, but it's really our divine self, our soul, calling us and saying, there's something deeper besides just in the world. There's this deeper, richer psychic experience that we can have, psychological experience, in our dream life and our intuition and some symbolism, and your life becomes more alive. You're not kind of in that wash, rinse, repeat, the old patterns and conditioning. You're actually being creative in your life and seeing life as very alive and very dynamic, and yourself being not fixed in any pattern.
And we're not, let's say we're not traditional Jungians in that sense, because we also like to look at what is the research in current neuroscience show? Does it support some of the assumptions that Jung made about the psyche and the mind? And we look at the current research for guidance as that. And so really the intention was to have a good balance between the past wisdom traditions a personal way of using that higher knowledge in a personal way, but also looking at, what does science say?
Mhm.
Okay, does it support this transformative model?
Mhm.
And so let's talk about the love coaching
Yes.
aspect of this. What does all this have to do with love?
What's love got to do with it? Well, I know for me, when I first started reading self-help books on love back before I did this work, it was all about, how do you change behavior? Maybe even think positive, or do a vision board for your ideal partner. How to change your profile, keep your boundaries, look for red flags, all these very kind of conscious things. And it was really all about building up and shining up your ego. Like, don't show that you're insecure. Don't show that you're too needy. You got to play the game. And basically, you're not really transforming yourself. You're just molding yourself to give a man or your partner power to define you. And if he calls or if he doesn't call, you feel good. And if you catch him, then you succeeded in enrolling him in your plan to get married. You want to really approach relationship from this idea that you're the prize, and you have to really feel it, not just this superficial, I love myself, but really the willingness to be so vulnerable and open to another person. And it takes a transformation. It takes you to really get to know yourself intimately. And what I've noticed in doing love coaching for 18 years now, it's really the biggest problem I see with a lot of the women I've worked with is their fear of intimacy. And they don't realize it, because they think that, I'm attracting unavailable men, I really want a relationship. But there's this kind of conditioned protective mechanism, these defenses around their heart, that are stopping them from having the love they truly desire. And they just feel like they can't get at it. And like we talked about in our class on Friday, our conditioning early in life creates this kind of cage around us. We're locked in to these patterns and we can't even see them. And we don't realize that we also have the key to set us free, but the key is unconscious. And so the Jungian coach, love coach, what she does is she helps a client get that key. Where is the key that's holding me back from opening my heart? And then the person isn't defended anymore. And you have to basically become bigger than this little ego that you originally were conditioned to be, to have that rich relationship. Otherwise, you're just going to have the same relationship over and over. So there's the ego personality relationship where you're kind of defended and you're keeping boundaries and staying away from narcissists and projecting a lot of like, they're bad people. These are, how do I you feel tiny in the world and the power of someone loving you is outside of you. Or you come from that whole complete woman. You bring your whole self into a relationship where you have value. You really know it on a deep level. It's not an affirmation. It's like, I know who I am, and I'm not afraid of who I am. And there's nothing in here I'm ashamed of. I've looked at myself and I've looked at the things I don't like about myself, and I'm okay with that. And I think what happens is that we just forget that we're the ones who are judging ourselves most harshly. And we're trying to get someone else to approve of us because there's parts of us that we don't approve of, and it keeps projecting outward. So it's about turning the person inward so they can reclaim their power, love, like really truly love themselves and see who they really are. And then they'll be able to find that partner that they truly want. And they'll be open with the person. And if it's easy and it's effortless.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, the challenge was, because if you think about it, love and relationships, they're really what give life this incredible richness and depth. So for me, it wasn't that, there's this thing called relationships or love, and maybe we should talk about it just kind of on the side. No, it's really at the heart of being a human being. We know from the research that if you are able to connect emotionally with another human being, it has great benefits. It gives your life meaning. It keeps you healthy. It keeps you sane and grounded. It really rounds out your life in a beautiful way. And we know from the statistics, people having trouble creating those kind of meaningful relationships. And part of the problem was that we all bought into this idea that our parents screwed us up, that somehow we're broken because
something happened in the past.
Our families weren't the ideal families.
They weren't the Brady Bunch.
Yes. And part of it was the fault of psychology, I would say, that the way it leaked out, the kind of what people were doing in relationship therapies became the model for a lot of the coaching models.
Well, think about it. Back when I was single in the 80s and 90s, there were all the people that were writing books on relationships were therapists.
Yeah.
You know, so either you're getting the dating tip, like someone who's a journalist writing about dating tips, or you're getting these therapists that are talking about wounds and your childhood problems and your parents being avoidant and attachment styles. And so then you end up thinking, well, if I'm single, there must be something wrong with me. And that's how I felt for so long, is that if I need to fix myself so I can find love. And I think my gift to the world of love relationship coaching is to share that you're not broken, to share that you are whole already. There's nothing wrong with you because you're single. It's just because there's something inside of you that's stopping you. It doesn't mean that you're broken. It means that maybe you're not conscious of something. It's not a brokenness. It's just like some people, they're naturally conditioned to make money. And because they don't make money, doesn't mean they have money wounds. You know, it's just that's just not their conditioning. We're always getting what we were set up to be. But the way we set up our life, that ego personality, is a sign of a healthy mind. It's a natural process we all go through to mold ourselves into this personality for survival. So it did a good job. And we need to, in our 30s, we need to now transcend that model. If we don't, we stay in our life repeating the same patterns over and over and getting the same relationships, the same amount of money. And we're struggling because we've outgrown that old pattern, but we don't know how to get out of it. And that's why Jungian coaching is great, because it goes into the unconscious. It helps you see what you can't see, those blind spots that you can't see. And I don't think of them as blocks, because I think what's in the way, when we go toward what's stopping us, that's where our gold is. That's where we really discover who we are. And that's like the journey itself. The blocks or the barriers to love itself are basically the ticket to a deeper self. And if I would have just got married at 23 and had kids, I wonder if I would have ever searched for a deeper meaning. So thank God I didn't settle for just the ordinary. And people that seek this type of coaching are extraordinary women that are really looking for a bigger life. They know there's something more. And don't confuse that desire for something more as you're doing it wrong, or that there's something broken in you because you don't have what you want. That desire is divine. And love, having that true partnership, is divine. And there's a reason why you haven't settled. And then if you're in a relationship that's not working, there's a reason why you're desiring a better connection with your partner, a better relationship with your children, or a better relationship with your parent. Because that's what we're made of. We're made of having that true connection. That soulful connection with others and ourselves.
Yeah, I think what we learned from Jung was that we operate from the persona level, the kind of this personality mask that we develop to interact with society. And there's nothing wrong with this, but he was saying there's something deeper that you need to get in touch with. And most of us are so focused on this persona, and we start to believe that that's all we are. And when we try to create relationships at the persona level, they don't really work because they don't really hit the mark. They don't hit the heart level. They're not that soulful, connected aspect of relationships that we're we're hungry for.
Mm-hmm.
So the shadow work, like you say, the obstacles, or the things that most people call obstacles, are really the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like Marcus Aurelius said, the obstacles become the way.
Mm-hmm.
Or Joseph Campbell, where you stumble, there's your treasure.
He also said the cave you fear to enter contains the treasure that you seek. And the ego is afraid of actually going into the unconscious. So it will there will be resistances. This is why doesn't everyone just do this? Because there's resistance. But if the desire is strong enough to change your life, you will go through. It's like the hero when he has a bigger mission it's almost like you're willing to die for it. I'm willing to, face life. And when I left the corporate world, I remember thinking to myself, I've been talking about doing my own business for a while, helping people for years. And I said, this is my opportunity. I got to see what I'm made of. And there was something in that seed of desire. I didn't have anything I wanted. I was single. I didn't have a savings. I didn't have any money, but I had a dream. And it was through that process of going toward what scared me, what challenged me, made me basically grow into the woman that had the things that I wanted. So it's like all these obstacles are there as preparation for what we want to receive. It's like we need to, we aren't the person that has those things yet. So we have to become that person. And that's what individuation is. We're breaking kind of the bonds of this cage that we put ourselves in to set ourselves free, to step into our true power. And you know what? I'm pretty proud of what I was made of. I look back and I say, wow, I can't believe the person I used to be. Like, it's almost like you become unrecognizable to yourself that, I used to be so scared about change and scared, like afraid to take risks. And I was shy. Like, I was super shy. I would never do a video like this. And just how much being daring in your life can really change. And for relationships, that's what I needed too. I had to do what was scary. I had to face my darkest fears about myself, and also be willing to get in touch with the glory and divine power that I have, right?
Yeah,
What's in the shadow is
let's talk
mostly our
about the
light.
shadow, because we have our own definition of it and our own way of approaching the shadow. A lot of the previous work that was done in shadow, the shadow was kind of cast as the villain.
Yes.
And of course, it does have some of those qualities. But for most of us, it's simply the things that we pushed away, the things that we pushed into the unconscious mind. And often it's the best part of us that we push away, because the persona, the way we create it, is more about adapting to our environment.
It's like conforming to the mediocrity of society, and then all the greatness and the light and the shininess is kept repressed.
Yeah. And so we don't define the shadow as a broken part of us, or as a terrible, dark, evil part of our psyche. It's simply our, like you said, maybe even our greatness that we're afraid of. We pushed away into the unconscious mind, and integrating it, becoming aware of it, is one of the best things that you can do for your love life. What it does, it stops you, or let's say you no longer have the need to project that shadow onto others. And in relationships, that's what happens is you end up attracting people that are going to trigger you. Now, they might also bring that chemistry element, right? That's why you feel that excitement, because here's the unknown. Here is something that challenges you. But at the same time, as time goes by, you start to see that this person is simply a human being like yourself, and the projection starts to fade.
So what you do is, if you project all the things that you don't accept about yourself, that you deny, onto that other person, initially it's all the glory and all the light and all the power. This person comes in and it's like this part of yourself that you basically have rejected, want to reconnect with. you think it's out there in that person. So they become the magical person that has the glowing smile and the charming texts, and you get all flirty and you're really just like excited about the person. And then they let you down. And then you see the shadow of the things that you don't like about yourself, or that you reject, the one who's abandoned, the one who's criticized, the one who is unlovable, these things that you push away. And so you see all the light and all the dark of yourself in that other person. If you could recognize that you're seeing yourself, it would save 1,000 hours of heartache, and calling your girlfriend saying, should I text him back? Should I not? You're actually, you know what to do. You know how to act. You know what you're seeing in the other person. You're not like projecting everything and giving them all that power. Like I always say, if you give a person a power to give you love, you also give them the power to take it away. And that is a very powerless relationship, to be dependent on someone to give you love, to fill you up, and also to take away your confidence, to take away or define your worth because they weren't interested in you. I mean, that's really, it's an ego relationship. And then it's only good if they keep propping you up. It's only, you feel that kind of propping up when they call, and then the pulling down when they disappear, and the submarine guys that come back, and you feel this kind of powerlessness to, when they love me, I can love myself. And that is a backwards way of seeing the world. And it's a total misperception, because if you don't see it in yourself, it's going to be hard to see it out there.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's almost like if we don't do this work ourselves internally, of integrating the shadow, our unconscious mind, we expect the other person to fulfill our love life for us. And that's unfair, because now you're putting this great burden onto your partner. You're expecting them to be everything for you.
And we hate it when people do that to us. When you meet someone and they're really into you and you're like, I don't know if I can reciprocate. It feels very uncomfortable.
Yeah. And so the great difference is that when you are individuated, when you've integrated your shadow, you're entering a relationship on a more even keel. You're being more realistic about what this person can give you and what you have to offer to this person.
You feel more authentic, more vulnerable, more open, more emotionally available. All the things that we want in a partner, you become, because you're working through all the things that you're kind of pushing away about yourself, that if you feel like men are pushing you away, it's reflecting back of parts of yourself that you're pushing away, that you're rejecting. And I remember the shift happened for me is when I realized that it was me who was afraid of a commitment. It was me who was shut down emotionally. It was me who didn't communicate and ask for what I wanted. And when I had that, it was like an instant realization. I said, if I could create this whole pattern in my life, first I was mad at myself because I was like years and years of self-help, and I finally get it that it's me. I've been trying to fix something that's not broken. All I had to do was make a decision to open up. And as soon as I did that, I met you. It was like, I realized I have the power. If I have the power to push men away and attract men that aren't available, because that's me, if I choose to be available, then I can attract someone who is available and who can talk deep and understand the things that I want to talk about. And so it was really a big shift. And it didn't come overnight. It was facing my shadow, seeing that I'm creating this life. And so the ego relationship is very outward focused, externally. And when you do Jungian coaching, especially the spiritual aspect, you're connecting to your soul, your deeper self. And so you're entering a relationship more from this not from the superficial persona, but from this soulful self, this powerful spiritual being is going into this relationship. So you're not making this little other human bigger than you, and you're starting to enter a relationship, and then the people you meet will be different. They'll be more whole. They'll be more connected. They won't be projecting onto you like you're projecting onto them. You're kind of in it, like aligned and energized at the same level. And, we hear a lot of people say, where are all these awakened men? I don't see them anywhere. And it's, well, you're not awakened yet, so you're not going to see them. It's really interesting how the mind works. You'll have cognitive bias. You'll see out there in the world what you expect to see. So if you expect relationships to be hard, you expect people to not be there for you, if you expect people you can't trust or that no one wants to be with you, you're going to keep getting that. It's like almost like that blinders you can't see outside. And what Jungian coaching does is help a client really see there's a possibility here. A lot of self-help people talk about possibilities and you're unlimited, but you have to go through the shadow work first. It's very, very important. Until you do shadow work, you're going to be really just popping up your persona and not really going to the deeper layers of who you are.
Yeah, and a lot of people ask us, well, then how do two individuated people look in a relationship?
Yeah.
And it's essentially that then the relationship becomes a ground for your individual growth. And that's what a good relationship should do. It should give you like a good base from where you continue to grow and develop yourself. And the other person encourages that instead of trying to kind of hold you back to, you promised you were this way and you should stay this way all the time.
Or someone who expects you to live out something that like almost like, I will only love you if you succeed. If you keep succeeding, that kind of relationship too. There's like keep propping up the other person. Like if you like that other person feels afraid to fail almost.
Yeah. It doesn't mean there won't be any conflict or argument or anything like that. But those things, just like in your individual work with the shadow, those things serve for your personal growth and for the growth of the relationship.
And so, so what does it look like? Here's, for those of you who are single or want to be love coaches, a great exercise for you to do is I want you to write down your 3 top qualities that you would say that you are really proud of who you are. So if 3 of your best friends or family members that love you, what are the 3 qualities they would describe you as? Maybe it's to be kind. Maybe you find that you're attractive. You really love the fact that you're a beautiful person and look beautiful, pretty, thin. What are the best qualities that, like, if you look at, like if you're single, look at your profile. What are the things that you think make you attractive to another person? And that's your persona. That's your personality. That's this kind of propping up. It's the way we interface with the world. The ego is the internal voice, which doesn't sometimes match the personality. The personality is like, I'm this, but inside you may be kind of doubting it. And a lot of people work on that ego level, like, let me reprogram those thinking. But what's deeper than that, the deeper layer, is the shadow. So those 3 qualities, write them down. And then I want you to, on a piece of paper, write down the opposite of those qualities. What are the opposite? So if it's beautiful, it would be ugly or unattractive, disgusting, like really like that negative, like what you would push away. And then when you look at those 2, you can't be the persona, those great qualities, without pushing away the opposite, because everything has 2 sides. There's a duality. So this is the 3rd question. The final question is, how much of your life has been dictated by avoiding being what's in your shadow? Avoid being mean, avoid being unattractive, avoid being, what's something else that would be in a shadow, or shining. We've had people where the mother was really like, out there, and they were like really shy. So in their shadow is this like out there superstar. So how much of your life has been ruled by keeping that superstar hidden, or keeping that tenderness part of you, or maybe anger, the angry person? Like, how much do you monitor your behavior and you feel like you're stuck in this pattern because you have to upkeep this persona. The kind of the projection or holding up that persona is such a stress on the psyche because it's exhausting. After a while, we all know it. We're in lockdown right now. Sometimes it feels good to not put makeup on, put sweatpants on, be alone. Like it's those times where we could just be ourselves. And then we have to go on Zoom and we have to, look good or go online. And it's like that propping up that we have to do. And think about love coaches. What typical love coaches do is actually reinforce that persona. They're trying to build up that persona so you get someone attracted to you. But we're not attracted on the persona level. We're attracted on the emotional level. And so we have to get to the emotion, the root emotion, that those fears that we have to come to terms with them so we can be completely vulnerable and we're not putting on an act with someone. Have you ever felt that way where you meet someone and you think everything's great and you're kind of having the banter, but then things get a little serious, like what's happening next, or that you get to that level and then all of a sudden everything shuts down, or you see a darker side of that person. It's like all of a sudden things start to get a little real. And that's where most people back off. Or some people stay in their personas the whole time and then they feel like they don't really know their partner. They really don't know. I want to get closer. We've been dating for 5 years. He's not committing to me. I want a deeper relationship, but I can't get there. And it's because of the persona.
Yeah. It's an incredible process,
Yes.
no doubt. And nature, I think, set it up that way, that we have to confront ourselves in the other person. And
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And really it's about transcending our ego, because think about it. If I really want to connect with another human being at that soulful level, I'm going to have to put my ego aside, and I'm going to have to find a way to put this person before me, which is really the transcending of the ego.
You have to take that mask off and be willing to be real.
Yeah. And it's scary for most of us because it is that feeling of vulnerability. Like, oh my God, I could die here.
Well, and it's like, if we're okay with our darkest parts of ourselves that we think are really terrible, and we love that, we can love that part of ourselves, that we can be angry sometimes or irritable or jealous or critical, then we're not afraid of showing that to someone else because we accept it. And then that you're going to find someone who loves all of you. Like, I know I'm not perfect. I'm pretty close, but
You told me you were perfect.
But when I met you, I didn't feel like I had to keep up this persona. Like I felt like I was so I was kind of exhausted from keeping up the persona. And I just was like, this is who I am. And it was just like, oh my God, why didn't I do this like 20 years ago? Is just be myself. But it takes the process of working with the shadow and coming to terms and resolve the conflicts that we're not conscious of that are stopping us. And you can't change what you're not conscious of. And that's really where Jungian coaching, especially for love and relationships, can help with relationships, because we go deeper. We go right to the root. It's not about fluffing up and thinking positive and keeping a high vibration. It's about, I got to find out who I am, and I know on a deep level, and you come with power and you enter the relationship that you're the prize, and that you're looking for someone else who can, and it reflects that back, is that someone who loves all of you and who can be real with you too, and allows themselves to be close to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Now, we could talk about this for days.
I know. So let's go to questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with the first one. I've not dated for 7 years, anything more than a first date. I'm almost 30 and I'm full of hope now that I'm ready to experience relationships, but I can't seem to find people to ask me out at all, not even on dating apps. What should I do? So it's really, truly, you have to do the shadow work. You're seeing that no one's asking you out, but on some unconscious level, it's reflecting yourself. So as you know, you said you know that there's something here, and it's a fear of really having someone connect with you. So a lot of times there's two things. You're going to believe what you see, that no one's asking me out. What is the story you tell yourself about it? No one's asking you out. What's the narrative? How are you defining yourself by those things? And then also you have to really get into the emotion of what would be, and of course not in this time I can get there, but through working on with the shadow, you're going to find out what emotional fear you have around being in a relationship. Because not being in a relationship, not dating for so long, you're almost conditioned to be alone, and that's your ego's comfort zone. So a relationship would be a huge threat. No matter how much you consciously want it, it's going to feel a huge threat. There's a deep fear that you're probably not even conscious of actually having that relationship. Maybe you are a little conscious of it, so you want to start working with that. So I would look at what is story you're making up about why you can't find the right people, and what is the emotion there, and see if you can get to the fear of what would that really look like if I did get into a relationship. A lot of our clients, in one of our courses, we have them do a marriage visualization of what would be like to experience marriage. And they said, oh my God, all my triggers came up with that, having someone in my life and living in my house and having to share. So you're really in a pattern of not dating. So what's in your shadow is the person that's loved and in an intimate relationship.
Yeah. And the fact that you're here indicates that, well, here's the answer. Or here's a way to proceed, at least.
Well, I have access to the replay. Yes, after this is over, you're going to click on this page. The replay will be up, so you'll be able to watch it again. You said you were distracted a little bit, and I definitely need to watch this. Okay, yes, we'll definitely have the replay here. If you have a question, there's a little ask a question button on the bottom. If you're on Facebook, please come to Crowdcast so you can ask your question. Here's another one. This is more about career, which we're going to talk about tomorrow, but I think it might relate to relationships. Finding a full-time income and satisfying career looks more and more like a pipe dream to me, especially during crazy times. I haven't had full income. I've been looking for jobs very long term, only to be wrongfully terminated 2 weeks ago for my first job in 13 years. My ex-employer still owes me money. Now I have a hard time trusting people. This also makes me feel like a failure. I haven't succeeded as an independent adult. What should I do? I'll let you take that question.
Well, yeah, you might consider coaching. If you have that calling, let's say we discourage people from going into coaching or thinking about coaching purely as a job thing. Of course, it is a way of working, and it can be very lucrative and very rewarding, but you want to enter it because it's your calling. You have that desire to help people. You're a good listener, right? You have patience. You want to cultivate your personal development in doing this work. So if that sounds like you, then maybe this is a career for you.
But I would point out that this, your mindset is creating the reality, and you're thinking the reality is creating your results. Like the circumstances are creating your results. Like there's crazy times. I'm not going to get what I want. You can't trust people. That's the narrative that's going on in your mind. That's what you're going to create. The cognitive bias, you're going to see the world that way. And it's like you're waiting for something to come outside, but your blinders are on. So you're only going to see failure. You're only going to see lack and people you can't trust. Those are effects of the mind. They're not the cause. The COVID, the situation out there is not the cause of anything. It's if your mind can see an opportunity, or your mind can see defeat. Whatever you choose to see is what you're going to believe. So I would say the main thing for you is trust. I don't think you trust in the universe or the spiritual aspect of yourself to create your life. I think that's the bottom line, is that you really have to develop a deep trust in the deeper knowledge of who you are, that you're the creator of your life, that nothing out there can stop you. Instead of feeling like the employer did this to me and the community, there's no opportunity out there. If you externalize all your power, you will always feel like a victim, that life doesn't turn out for you.
That's what I was going to say.
Yes. So that would be a very important thing, is if you want to get into coaching, and those of you who are coaches and you're like, trying to build your business and thinking, is Jungian coaching for me? One of the things that we do in our coach training is we help you shift the mind around creating your life and leading. I always, I call it like getting in front of your life. Most of us are following our old patterns. Our old patterns are like leading us, like like we're like the cart and the horse is leading us. Our old patterns are just dragging us along. We want to get in front of the patterns and basically into the space of unlimited possibility and start to leave the patterns behind and step into something fresh in the future. So it's getting in front of your life. I haven't had a real relationship in 13 years. Another one. I feel like I'm stuck in 2007. There is an inhibition and I can't figure it out. Recently, I started this watercolor tutorial online. As I was painting a colorful bouquet, a memory of my second date with my ex came to mind. We were invited to his friend's picnic place. I think it was an artist, but I can't really tell her why. I never saw her again. I don't know. My mind is telling me I really want to enjoy life. Oh, telling me, I think this is the same person. I really want to enjoy life. I have so many fears stopping me from truly enjoying it. I have a problem with jealousy, insecurities. It's so in me. When I do a visualization work, imagine that guy I really dream to be with. I feel a deep fear that if we do meet, I will feel insecure. If he meets my stunning sister, for example, it's so hard to shake this idea off. Yeah, again, you're giving the man, this ideal man, power. You're projecting all of your spiritual power onto this person. And we all do this in love. That's why we fall in love. We're projecting our spiritual power. A conscious relationship understands, oh, I'm projecting. I'm experiencing my spiritual power through this person, not from this person. This person isn't giving me spiritual power. I'm experiencing my own spiritual power through this person. And even if that person goes away, that power is still within me. And so we are insecure. I mean, it's the right attitude. If you're coming from your ego, you should be insecure because your ego is thinking this person has the power to love me and has the power to take love from me. And so in a way, you will play out that pattern if you don't do the shadow work. Or find a way to find your own spiritual connection to yourself.
Read Let Love In.
Read Let Love In, yes. But yes, it doesn't mean that you're destined to be alone. And there is change because I was single forever. I met Rob when I was 41, but I was always dating the wrong people. I never really had a long-term relationship. I was always single. I was always the single friend. Always feeling rejected, always giving my power away, waiting by the phone, crying heartache after heartache. And it was until I reclaimed that power within myself and saw that I can create something, that I was the one actually afraid of love and pushing it away, that I had the power to create it. That's when everything changed. So really the true experience is understanding who you are on a deep level.
Yeah, and accepting full responsibility for creating your life, which is a difficult part, but that's part of the Jungian coaching model, is that we learn to accept full responsibility. And that sounds harsh to a lot of people, but if you think of what it gives you the power to create your own life, right? Because you're not depending on anyone else to give you love, to give you courage, to give you confidence. You're relying on your inner resources.
I've been married for 11 years. I've had a hard time setting boundaries and finding myself not wanting to be intimate with him at all. Nothing he says or does make me want him. I know I have a deep-seated trust issues and abandonment issues, but I don't know how to set better boundaries and also get him to understand that I'm ready for him to move on. Sorry if this doesn't make sense. A healer tells me I'm vague, and obviously I am. No, you're not at all. The issues I have are not sure if they have to do with him at all. Like I'm projecting them, yes. And other fears onto our relationship if I'm just done. Do you think art therapy or meditation can unlock traumatic memory like it happened when I was painting? Oh, that's another question. Okay. Um, there. So first of all, you are correct. What you're seeing, what's holding you back in your husband, setting boundaries, it's like almost like you're seeing yourself. So trying to fix it out there. I mean, it's okay. I mean, you could do that. It's functional, but it's not going to really give you what you want. You want this intimacy and this trust issue. Is you probably pick someone that is you're not attracted to, so you really don't have to open up to. So so it doesn't necessarily mean you have to leave this person, but you definitely want to get clear on what is really happening, why you're creating this situation, and then you'll have clarity whether you need to move on, or sometimes what happens is that relationships get revitalized, or you start seeing how attractive he is after all, because you have changed, shifted something in you and became more available. But most of the times we fit together like puzzle pieces. So when we change our piece, the other piece either falls away or adjusts, and we get to see someone in a different perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. You're very wise.
Yes,
Deborah.
you already know. Well, I was saying she's very wise. She knows she's projecting. So think about like, again, what is the persona? What is the fear? What are you projecting on him? Like really easily just think about describe him. And then what is that about? What does that say about you? Like, what are you pushing away? Where are you not? Like if he's a certain way, like shut down or not interesting, where are you not interested? Where are you not creative? Where are you holding yourself back? What you seek is lacking in him is really what you're feeling the calling to be fulfilled within yourself.
Yeah.
Do you think art therapy or meditation can unlock traumatic memory like it happened when I was painting? Well, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, that's let's say that's a therapy model.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with therapy models if that's what you're after. Our approach is based on the wisdom tradition that says your true self cannot be damaged in any way.
Mm-hmm.
You will have these, let's say, traumatic or difficult experiences in life, but you can always work with them because the true self is not damaged. It can always work with whatever happens, and part of it is getting to see it in the right context. Remember the principle of consciousness. If you assume that this experience damaged you, that's what you will experience.
Yeah,
it creates that for you. And
so it almost is a self-defeating way to work. Like for me, it was like I've spent so many years trying to fix myself. And so you're coming from a deficit, basically. Like I'm damaged and I have to fix myself and then maybe someone will love me. Well, what if you weren't damaged?
Mm-hmm.
What wouldn't that save a lot of time? Because you're not seeing yourself as damaged. So then what do I want to create? You're understanding what defenses and what you created in your life up until now, but not coming from a place that there's something traumatic or damaged about me.
Right. And we're not ignoring those experiences.
No.
On the contrary, we're moving towards them, but we're moving towards them with a very different approach. Mm-hmm. We're seeing them as potential for growth, not as things to be fixed or to push away or to get rid of.
Yes. So I do know I have a fear of attachment. I have a fear of commitment, and intimacy is so scary. The thought of being intimate with someone, I immediately freak out. How can I stop fixing that? Well, I think the main thing is to work with the fear. And that's the shadow work. You can't do this alone. You have to have a coach. You have to get someone to hold your hand, because your ego will resist. A lot of people I know, very independent women, we want to do it all ourselves. And it really takes a lot for us to hire a coach and actually get coaching and invest on that level. But until you do, you're going to be just rearranging the furniture. Your ego is going to make you feel a little better, and you're really not going to have the transformation that you want. So it is an investment. You want to take the time and you want to invest in having that private coach to help you, and join us in our group. We have plenty of mentors, our 4 mentors that are in the group that can talk to you. So make sure you sign up for a consult with one of them. Ask them if they would be interested in doing a consult with you. You can find out more. But definitely working with that fear and really coming to terms with not getting rid of it, but getting inside of it. Like, what is this about? Because that is the key to your freedom right there. The fear is the key to your freedom. It's pointing right to where you need to work. You briefly mentioned that coaching is also supposed to help the coach grow while helping others. This speaks to me. Can you speak more on that? Yes.
Yeah, that's the great thing about this model is that, well, first of all, you have to undergo your own individuation process to be able to teach it and to be able to coach people through it. But as you continue to coach people, because the principle of the mind is still applying, that everything you're experiencing is showing you something about your own mind. When clients come to you with difficult situations, difficult emotions, it serves as a mirror to your own mind. Now, it doesn't mean you're working on your own mind continuously, or let's say that you're using the coaching to work just on you. But in working genuinely with the other person, in showing compassion towards them, you're opening up that compassion towards your own mind.
Yeah.
It just opens up these new spaces in your consciousness, in your psyche. It is expanding your awareness continuously.
And each of our clients have an aspect of ourselves. It's like a holographic universe. So the whole is reflected in many, many facets. It looks like there's a lot of people, but they're really reflecting the whole. So if a client comes to you and they're challenging in some situation, it might be something that you're not conscious of, that you have struggled with, or maybe something you just overcame, or something that helps you understand it in a deeper way. Like even just teaching this class, every time Rob and I teach this class, I feel like I grow, because I like, oh, that helps me understand myself and psychology and spirituality in another way. So you're constantly growing. So everyone wins in the coaching situation. You're not, like some coaches, they don't see that value. They just feel like it's draining. They're serving others. They don't see that this is dynamic relationship between two people, and how powerful it can be. I keep coming into opportunities and being drawn to the Jungian process. So much of what you're saying resonates, including being cognizant of current science. And I'm realizing that I jump in to help others doing what I need for myself. It makes me wonder what is in my shadow. Is that I need this process for myself? In that case, what do you recommend?
We all need the process. Jung believed that it's our nature, right? If you ask, what is a bird designed for? For flight. Like everything about them is the expression of flight. What is a human being designed for? It is to be conscious of the universe, to be aware as possible, to develop your higher emotions, your higher cognitive abilities, your talents, right? What we call your spiritual talents, or your powers. And that only comes through doing it. Just like a bird has to fly, we have to be able to apply it in life, right? With each other. So this coaching model, it serves that purpose of allowing us to work, to express compassion, to work with difficult emotions, difficult situations in a compassionate, creative way, without having to resort to the idea of brokenness, or that somehow people are damaged and need fixing. We're going through, let's say, we're depending on higher principles to work our karmic destiny out.
Well, and her specific question was, what's in her shadow that she needs to process for herself? You jump in to help others. Look at the things that you're jumping to help others for. Like where do you feel drawn to the type of people, the type of problems that you're trying to resolve for others? Like, I want to help them be more spiritual. I want to help them with health. I want to help them with relationships. What is it that you're trying to help others with, that you want to save them from? And you're really seeing yourself in them, that projection of the shadow. It says parts of yourself. Maybe you're not conscious. The thing about the shadow is a lot of people don't realize it's not conscious. So you can't just see your shadow. You have to, your ego hides it from you. So you'll be like, oh, I really feel bad for these people that are worried about money all the time. I want to help them out. And it's like, oh, wait, where am I worried about money? So that's how we would look at it, is like where, and it's not always a direct mirror. So it takes a little work, but that would be a first step, is to ask yourself, what areas are you drawn to help people that you feel like you need? And it's almost like an emotional urge that there's some kind of threat if you don't help them. And then, it's really, you're hooked in somehow about something about yourself. So very, very,
the triggers give us a way into the unconscious mind.
Hello and thank you. What a valuable conversation today. Is there a read you recommend to bring myself up to speed to the foundation of Jungian coaching? Intrigued by this model as a coach. We have this really great 3-part, 3-hour each class on the introduction to Jungian coaching. And so we take you through the consciousness, how the philosophy, the psychology, the map of the soul. So if you're interested, after this, you can email our customer service, or we can post it, the link in here. Actually, I could put it in the comments here for those of you who are listening to the replay too, where to sign up for that. And it's really a great introduction to the work. We created Jungian coaching, so we don't have a book yet out on it. So I can't tell you where to read up on it, except the work that we're doing. There's a lot of books on Jung. I mean, he has millions and millions of followers around the world. It's just that most of it is not a coaching model. So more Jungian analysts, and there's many, trainings you can do in analysts. And actually, we get a lot of people who studied Jung in the academia world, and then they come to us to learn the coaching model, to get the techniques and how to really work with people. So it's not just theoretical. It's like, oh, how do I work with visualization and dream work and working with the archetypes and shadow work? Definitely. Also, a lot of shadow work that people teach is that I know is more therapy based, more like woundedness and stuff like that. So we really stick to the coaching model with that as well. Okay. But we'll post that link. Today I started listening to the work. I forget the lady who does it. She has a masculine first name. Oh yeah. That's more cognitive behavioral, what she teaches, about changing the thoughts. We go much deeper than that in Jungian coaching. Cognitive behavioral is very common. Most of personal development is change your thoughts, change your life, watch your thoughts. There's a lot of mindfulness, Buddhism. That's not what this is. Of course, there's an aspect of that. That's kind of like the entry point, but the deeper work is the unconscious. It's what the thoughts that we aren't aware of. It's the things that we can't get at. And that's what the Jungian coaching does. It gets to what's underneath everything, kind of like the roots of a tree. When we're looking at the thoughts are the trunk, the actions that we take are the branches, and the leaves are the fruits. But we have to find a way to get to the roots, like what is unconscious. So the work you're talking about is great for good entry level, ask those questions. It's very self-aware, but it's not going to get you to transform the ego. And you're just kind of looking at your ego thoughts, but definitely, a good start.
Yeah, and some people are looking for that kind of stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that resonates with you, that's where you should go. Go if
you want to go deeper, though, this is where to go. And we include that kind of mindset, looking at your thoughts, examining those as part of the process. But it really is kind of like the surface. It's like the base of the mountain, and we take you to the summit. So it depends, like you said, how deep you want to go. You want to go to dream work and really creative, working with a psyche that's very dynamic and powerful. I always imagine myself with a celebrity. Is it my mind looking for an unavailable relationship? It could be. A lot of times we project this divine glory onto us. So I would say the celebrity is in your shadow. And so you have to be your own star. You have to be the star of your own life. You have to embody, connect with that soulful you. And that is really, and then like, I feel like I have, that in my relationship, it is that kind of level of, wow, like I get this incredible relationship. That's really what you want to feel. And you want to not put them on a pedestal. I always say people love to put people on pedestals. You want to put yourself on a pedestal and then find someone else who's also put themselves on the pedestal. So it's not like one is lifting the other person up. And yeah, you can have that great relationship. It could be a celebrity, but you have to find your own inner celebrity.
Yeah, symbolically, celebrities, let's say when they appear in a dream, they represent the higher self, right? Because they have that star power. Yeah. And that for our psyche, that star power is the higher self in us.
Yes. I had a learning disability when I was a kid. It's had for me to be the star in my life intellectually so hard.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and that kind of, if you think about that learning disability or any kind of challenges we had growing up, even traumas that we've had, or what we call traumas, it's all, the ego is kind of carrying those ideas. Who we are is so much deeper than that. Like that's just like the surface, like upper part of ourselves, that there's so much more to you than that label. And that's why we really like the coaching model, because we don't put labels on people. We see people for their potential, and that nothing can really stop you.
Yeah. And it's the opposite, that those things are what make you unique. And really they become your superpowers when you approach them in this way. They become your gold, right? That where you stumble, there's your treasure. There's your treasure. But you have to go into that unconscious content of
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love, like, it's like the insecure Debbie was the best thing. My low self-esteem was the key to me having everything. Like it gave me so much. If I didn't have that, I would be just very superficial, and it never gave me the desire to look deeper and to change my life. So every challenge we have gives us something, and it's our job to make it useful. Nothing is wasted. I always compare myself. I try to read a lot and do internal work. Yeah, don't compare yourself to anyone. There's only one you. And you're a unique expression of the divine. And the divine wants everything that you desire, more than even you want it. And you have the power to create anything in your life. And I know it's kind of like everyone says that, but you want to get from understanding that as an intellectual concept and maybe believing, only when things go well, okay, yeah, I think I can create some things, where you really come from that certainty. And I think that's what this process does. For me, it helped me realize who I am, especially the dream work. We're going to talk about that in the spiritual segment that we're doing on day 4. But really, truly, oh, great. Thank you so much for posting. I think Katie did that for the 3-part introduction for the introduction to Jungian Depth Coaching. It really is, there's a great story you tell, Rob, about the king. And the king is, in charge of this great kingdom, and he's rich and wealthy. And he goes to sleep and he has a dream that this battle came, and someone, they took over his town and his kingdom, and he was poor and destitute. And he goes to the guru, and he asks him, I don't know what is real. Am I the king that lost everything, Or is the reality that I am the king and I have everything real? And he said, neither. You're the awareness of the king that has everything and the king that has nothing. So what we do in the Jungian coaching world is really we help people see that we're so much beyond this material world and the things that we're creating temporarily that are always moving and changing, that there's an unchanging self. And when I was doing the dream work, it really helped me know there's this other aspect of me that loves me so much that is like giving me symbols and signs and helping me along. And it kind of doesn't, you don't feel alone in the world anymore. You feel connected to something bigger and a deeper part of your psyche that is ready to help you live your greatest missions. So that's what our work is about. Sign up for the free introduction. If you're interested in talking to me about the coach training, our next class is September 15th. There's links posted. There'll be links posted here. Oh, actually, just click the button here in the group, Coach Training. Find out more about our training. Would love to talk to you. No pressure conversation, just to see if it's a good fit for you. And before we go, one more question. Can you please recommend any book or genres that changed your life and gave you inspiration to change your life? I think the Gita, it's not a pop self-help book, but the Gita has dramatically changed my life. The Bhagavad Gita, it's a book from the larger volume of the Upanishads. It's basically the cliff notes from Eastern philosophy. And it really talks about the duality of life, the ego, attachment. And it really just did change. I mean, especially when I was trying to get my book published and trying to build my coaching business when I first started, I had the Gita with me and I would just open it up and read it. And it gave me it reminded me of who I am. And so I think that is really an amazing, the most transformational book I've ever read. And there's some translations that are cliff notes. Ekworth Eshwaran has the Essential Gita. If you're not, because it takes a while to read and understand, but definitely a great book. Do you have anything to recommend?
Well, certainly Jung. I know he's difficult to read, but what else do you have to do with your life? Try to read Jung directly. His words are just incredible. I mean, he just has such a depth of knowledge about the psyche that I haven't found anywhere else. Really, it's just he is the psychologist of the ages, basically, for now. And Joseph,
until you become the psychologist of the ages.
Joseph Campbell. Mythology, the richness of mythology based on Jung's approach. He gathered stories from all over the world and compiles them in this beautiful way. Kind of very stream of consciousness also, but
what's a good book to start with reading Jung?
Joseph Campbell himself edited the collected works. It's called the Portable Jung.
The Portable Jung.
Yeah. So he kind of lays out different essays that Jung wrote in sequence of his thinking. So it's a good book, The Portable Jung.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Those of you who listen to the replay, hello. This replay will be up.
Thanks for the great questions, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Take care.